Hello and welcome to this latest edition of Bulls on Parade Talk. I'm your host, Joshua Sines, bringing you the latest in Houston Texans coverage. Before we get started, guys, I encourage you all that are listening and or watching to join me in today's conversation. The way you can do so by calling the following phone number, 724-444-7444. Once you dial in, go ahead and enter the call ID for this series, which is 131026, followed by the pound key, again, or the number sign. Again, that's 131026 pound. So give my show a call. Let your voice be heard. All right, guys. I want to get into something today that is not really discussed quite a bit as we're approaching. Wow, we're already 8 days away from the NFL draft. So, I want to touch on something that not a lot of people really talk about, especially the media. The media pays absolutely zero attention to anything like this, and this is something that was actually suggested by two fellow subscribers that were going off in the comments section of another video. I actually invited them to join me in today's show, but I haven't heard back from them. So hopefully they got my invitation. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. I'm not sure if they're going to be on the show or not, but I still invited them, So, and which brings me to another point. If whoever wants to join the hangout, let me know. We'll get everything. We'll get everything set up, and on YouTube, that is. But podcasts, like I said, podcast listeners can always call the show. I'm always taking your calls. It's still up, still working, and I'm still having a lot of fun doing all this. But anyway, let's get to the topic. With all the hoopla that the number one overall pick is getting, not a lot of people are really thinking about the other number one pick the Texans have. I'm talking about the 33rd overall pick, which is the first pick in the second round. Now, I look at this and I say, and it's very clear to me that, Bill O'Brien even has made it clear that we will draft a quarterback. The question is when. A lot of people are, even John McClain of the Houston Chronicle has come out and said if they keep the number one pick, it's going to be either Manziel or Clowney, or if we trade down, like for example, to say down to 6, like Atlanta is reportedly thinking about doing, it's going to be Khalil Mack or Blake Bortles. And don't even get me started on the Manziel thing. I've repeatedly said he does not deserve the number one overall pick, but I'm not spending today on that. I'm gonna have a lot more of that coming up soon. And I've already done previous episodes going off on that exact topic. So check those out on my channel and on the podcast. I encourage you all to do so. But anyway, the one thing I've always said is that if the Texans do trade down, that's the only way we're getting the quarterback. Because in my opinion, none of these quarterbacks are worth the number one overall pick. Are they talented? Absolutely. And I'll get to that. But is there one really deserving of the number one overall pick? We're talking about the number one overall pick here. I say no. No one is. The only one. Actually let me piggyback off of something that I did say when this whole draft process started. Back when I was analyzing the top quarterbacks in the draft early this year. I said the only guy who is remotely close, if Clowney wasn't in this draft, was Teddy. It was Teddy Bridgewater, and now he's dropping. Now he's dropping down so many draft boards. It's ridiculous. And I've gone on about why I think these people that are dropping Teddy Bridgewater have no idea what they're talking about. And the thing is, and I mentioned the talent in this draft. You're looking at, for example, in the skill positions, you look at the wide receiver position. It's a lot of talent there. Not a lot of not a ton of the offensive line help or anything like that. But even though, you look at guys like Jake Matthews, Lawan from Michigan, and of course Greg Robinson, the tackle from Auburn that everyone is apparently loving. But you're talking about, say, it's just do we have to take a quarterback number one? I don't understand why a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we have to take quarterback number one." I don't think so. I do not believe it. I refuse to believe it because there is not a quarterback in this draft that is worth the number one overall pick, except maybe a Teddy Bridgewater. Due to what I've seen on tape, due to the kind of person that I know he is, due to a lot of different factors that I really like about Teddy Bridgewater. He's the only guy. He's the only guy I would draft number one overall. That's it. If it had to be a quarterback. If it had to be a quarterback. Now, because it's not, I still take Clowney number one overall. That's me. But anyway, going back to the first pick in the second round that the Texans hold. And I want to put a lot of attention on that because I went back and when I was going through the list of quarterbacks, during the pro day episodes that I did, I talked about all these different quarterbacks that had good pro days, had bad pro days, and they were drafted solely, or not necessarily solely because of the pro days, but perfect example, and who I'm getting to is the guy who was taken in the top of the second round by the San Diego Chargers. I'm talking about Drew Brees. He was taken top of the second round by San Diego, and then ultimately wound up in New Orleans. Found the right coach, found the right home, found the right system. Now Super Bowl champion. Russell Wilson, drafted in the third round. Now look at him. Went to the right place. Went to the right place under a good coach. Had a running game, had a defense, and they brought him along slowly but surely. And it's the one thing that I say about this quarterback class. Only Teddy, in my eyes, is the only one that's ready to start right now. Only guy I think so. Only guy that I think. The one thing I learned about Coach O'Brien, and I've pointed this out on several occasions, is that he does not believe in starting a guy, in putting a guy out there if he's not ready. And Bob McNair has learned that lesson. I still can't get out of my head the quote that I read from Bob McNair talking about the David Carr experiment. A lot of people are, and everyone's saying David Carr is a bust, and due to that pedigree, they're initially just downgrading his little brother Derek, who is very talented. He's got a lot of arm. He's got a good enough arm. Probably one of the biggest in this draft that not a lot of people really pay attention to, and I don't understand it. I don't get it. But anyway, all of this is when you're talking about the quarterback class this year. Excuse me. This year, I don't think you don't have to start the guy right away. I mean, there's a reason why TJ Case and Ryan Fitzpatrick are on the roster. Now, the veteran that we had, we got rid of because apparently he was poisoned to Houston, which I don't think so. I've pointed out on numerous occasions, I think he just had a bad year. He's not a bad quarterback. I'm talking about Matt Schaub. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. Some people think he is. I don't understand it. But anyway, we have another veteran on the team. But technically, we have 3 veterans, if you think about it. 2 young guys, one the guy that's been there and done that. You know, not necessarily in the best of ways, but you know what I mean. He's been around young guys. He's a good mentor to young guys. I'm talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I personally don't think, and I've pointed this out, I don't think whoever we draft, unless it's a clear-cut win in the competition, you know, he knows the offense well, he's executing it well, and he's doing everything well in practice and preparation, I say start him. If Bill O'Brien feels strongly about a guy, and if he's basically outdoing everyone else, put him out there. If the coach feels that way. But see, what a lot of people don't understand, you know, there used to be a time when rookie quarterbacks, when they're drafted, they sit on the bench with your baseball cap and a clipboard, and they don't see the field for a couple of years, if ever, on that team. But the thing is, what a lot of people fail to see, but you know, everyone goes off the Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, Cam Newton thing where he was drafted and he started. Well, let me remind you guys, and that's why a lot of people are pushing for the young kid to start. You know, that's why, for example, last year they put a guy like the New York Jets started Geno Smith when he clearly wasn't ready. I don't think he was ready. You know, and if you remember that draft, everyone expected him to be the first quarterback taken. Look what happened. And then when he was ultimately put out there, he was raw in a lot of different ways. You know, all the flaws in his play, in his quarterback play, were basically seen for the New York media, basically the whole country to see. When you're in New York, if you do something, you're gonna hear about it all over the place. The point is, they put him out there, and he wasn't ready. Now, did they win games? Yeah, of course they did. But the thing is, was he ready to ultimately take the reins as a starter? No. Why do you think they brought Michael Vick? I would not be surprised if Michael Vick took the starting job away from Geno Smith. It wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if it happened. I don't know if it will. And that's a story for the New York media to cover. And I'm sure the circus is going to be all over the place. It's going to be all over the Jets training camp when it comes to that. It's basically Tebow all over again, but a little downgraded. That's basically what's going to happen wherever Johnny Manziel winds up. It's going to be a circus. It's going to be wondering, is he doing okay? How's he doing this? Is he starting? Is he not starting? You know, everyone's going to be wondering, you know, he's going to be put under the microscope, and I don't blame the media for doing their job necessarily. But I'm just telling you that it's just one of these things. You have to really look at what's going to happen, you know? I don't, like I said, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about. I was never that confident in Geno Smith coming in. Now, did he put up numbers? Sure he did. A lot of quarterbacks put up numbers. But the thing is, can they play in the league? Can they survive in the league? That's the question, and there's a lot more that goes into the process. I know that, believe me. But you really have to wonder what's going on here. There are some guys that when they come out, they're not ready to start right away. And just because Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, and Cam Newton were put out there, they weren't necessarily thrown into the fire, if you think about it. What is the one thing that Matt Ryan had at the very beginning? He had a running game. They basically used the running game. And they limited Matt Ryan from making a ton of mistakes. And they were winning games. And not only that, their defense was better back then than it was now. I mean, you look at the Atlanta Falcons defense this past season, they couldn't get off the field on third down. And they barely generated a pass rush, despite the free agents that they got. You know, and they got Steven Jackson, but everyone thought he was going to be an improvement to a guy like coming off from having Michael Turner in the lineup. They got Steven Jackson, who they thought had better value, but he's older and he's more beat up. Matt Ryan, when he came into the league, they built the team. They had Roddy White at wide receiver. They had a tight end, a Hall of Famer tight end in Tony Gonzalez, and then ultimately they added Julio Jones, who they traded up to get more weapons for Matt Ryan. Then what happened? Offensive line started, declining a little bit. They lost a couple pieces, and the team wasn't as good. Joe Flacco, when he came out of Delaware, what did he have in Baltimore that helped him along, and how they eased him along? Why he was not necessarily limited in mistakes, because he has shown to throw interceptions, especially early in his career. But the point is, what did Joe Flacco have around him? A running game, quality, not necessarily the best receivers, but quality receivers, and a defense. For years the Baltimore Ravens were a defensive-minded squad, starting with guys like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. But over time, they got more pieces around him. Ray Rice was still Ray Rice. You had guys like Torrey Smith, Anquan Bolden, Dennis Pitta, a quality tight end. They put pieces around him, and then ultimately during that playoff run where they went to the Super Bowl and won it, Joe Flacco stepped up his game, man. He stepped it up. A lot of people were saying, and of course everyone is saying, he never turned the ball over in the playoffs that year, basically doing only what Joe Montana has done. People were calling him Joe Cool, which I don't get, which I don't necessarily understand why they immediately put such labels on these guys when they're all of a sudden doing so great. But my point is, they built the team around him, and that's what that's all that I pointed out in my first article on my website. The way that a team works when it comes to finding the quarterback to build around for the next 15 to 20 years, and they get quality results. When you build for the future, you get quality results. Now, Cam Newton's situation, talk about a situation. When Cam Newton was put into the lineup, you got to remember, when Cam Newton was thrown in there, he was the one guy I think that was kind of thrown into the fire, because if you think about it, even though he was the number 1 overall pick, there were still questions, but the talent was there. Basically, when you look at this, the upside was there. And if you remember that season, they were going through a lockout. and so the incoming rookies had almost no time to learn the playbook. Didn't have a ton of time to learn the playbook, go over things with their receivers. Basically, and Carolina was a below average to average team at the time. And they basically told Cam, here's the playbook, learn all of it. We're putting you out there on the road against Arizona. Good luck. That's what they did to him. That's basically what happened to Cam. And to his credit, he lit it up. Now, the entire season, did they win a lot of games? No. Like I said, below average to average team. Cam Newton doesn't play defense. You know, that defense needed some work. They needed some more pieces around Cam. Despite having only, I think, one playmaker on the team, Steve Smith. That was pretty much about it. And then over time, you know, running game started getting better. They started adding more receiving targets for Cam. And look what happened this year. Every year he's gotten better. The team as a whole has gotten better. I mean, when they drafted Luke Kuechly, my goodness, you want to talk about a good young middle linebacker. Wow. Like, I love Brian Cushing. Like, I'm a huge Brian Cushing fan. But seriously, wow, Luke Kuechly. He is slowly becoming another one of those Brian Cushing type linebackers. You know, a quality linebacker. And he has been consistent his entire young career. He's going to be very successful in the NFL. But anyway, Cam Newton. He was the one guy I thought was, and same with guys like Blaine Gabbert, Jake Locker. Jake Locker didn't start right away, if you remember. Jake Locker, when he was drafted, he didn't start right away. He wasn't ready. Apparently, the coaches didn't think he was ready. Now, Blaine Gabbert, they put him out there. With what? What did Blaine Gabbert have around him? All he had basically was a Maurice Jones-Drew, and he even started struggling over time. Overall, that Jacksonville Jaguars team, have they gotten more pieces? Yes, but overall, you still need a defense, you still need an offensive line, and because you still need pieces around the quarterback if he's going to be successful. Was he talented out of college? People were raving about his pro day. He was one of the examples I used. You cannot just put a guy out there without having pieces built around the quarterback. It's the way with everybody. And, you know, and going back to, and, you know, it's what a lot of people say about guys like A.J. McCarron when he's coming out. A.J. McCarron can only succeed with a good offensive line. And my response to that was, and I saw that on Twitter, and it was like, and I responded immediately to him saying, isn't that the case with every quarterback? Doesn't every quarterback need a good offensive line to be successful? Troy Aikman was beat up his first year. He was 1-15. He got beat up. What happened? They built an offensive line. Emmitt Smith started seeing running lanes, and then look what happened to the Cowboys. So don't tell me A.J. McCarron can only succeed with an offensive line. That's BS. That is not true. Oh, I'm sorry. Can only succeed? That's the deal with every quarterback. Every quarterback needs their offensive line to protect them. Look at Matt Ryan last year. What happened last year? He did not have an offensive line. What happened to Case Keenum? Everyone's saying, oh, Case didn't win a game. Did you not look at the offensive line? Did you not see the offensive line? You need everyone to play, to be consistent in the game of football, which is, I think, is the ultimate team sport. So to blame it all on one guy, or to say, oh, this guy didn't get the job done. Everyone needs to do their job. It's not all one guy's fault. It's not David Carr's fault that he wasn't successful in Houston. What offensive line? did he have? He had, most of the times I went back and I watched David's early years. Some of those sacks he had zero chance. Like one play I saw against when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, James Harrison was one-on-one with a left tackle and he had no chance. It's James Harrison. So, you talk about the top pick in the second round. There is a lot of potential. You know, everyone talks about guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, A.J. McCarron, Zach Mettenberger, Aaron Murray. Although I think Aaron Murray, because of his injury, people are scared of that, so they might not look at him. So they might not look at him at all. But we'll see. There is a lot to look at in the bottom half of in the second to seventh round, even in the undrafted. Even undrafted guys is something to look at. Even, people are even talking about Pittsburgh QB Phil Savage. And I went back and I watched his tape. You know, he has an arm, but he is inconsistent. Now, if Bill O'Brien can work with that, he's the quarterback guru. I have yet to see. I've yet to see what how he has helped. Although, and for the moment, I trust him. For the moment, I'm putting my trust in him. You know, but I need to see something first before I can believe it. I'm just going off by what I'm hearing, what I've heard from others that know Bill, that know the coach. But anyway, what overall question? With all the hoopla, let's say, for example, we do take. So what do we do with the top pick in the second round? Do we take a Drew Brees? A Drew Brees kind of guy? You know, do we take A.J. McCarron, Jimmy Garoppolo? Do you think Teddy Bridgewater is going to drop? I don't. I wouldn't drop him. Do you think we should trade the second? We should trade that pick. I personally don't think so. But, you know, I mean, considering all the picks we have this year, there's going to be enough picks, I think, to fill as many holes as possible. It's just a matter of who we get and how they fit into what Bill O'Brien and Romeo Crennel want to do. Personally, I personally believe we're taking Clowney #1 overall if we don't trade the first pick. If we don't trade the first pick, we're taking Clowney. I firmly believe it. Secondly, now with that top pick in the second round, that's where I think we're getting our quarterback. Now, who it is? A.J. McCarron, Jimmy Garoppolo, Zach Mettenberger. Those three I like. I like those three. Now, Aaron Murray, I loved Aaron Murray in college. Don't get me wrong. I love what he did in college. But, of course, that injury scares me a little bit. And, you know, and same with Zach. Zach Mettenberger, he's coming off that injury. It does scare me a little bit. Just a little bit. And so, with all of that said, the most sure thing I would say, if taking the quarterback, then I say either AJ or Jimmy. That's my thinking. If we're thinking take quarterback with that pick, AJ McCarron or Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, Bill O'Brien has pointed out it's possible we might draft two. It's possible we might draft two. So who would the other guy be? For all we know, we might get Phil Savage in the third to fifth round. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe we might get Phil Savage. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know. But the point is, there's a lot of talent to go around. There is. There is plenty of talent. It's a deep draft. A lot of upside in this draft. So, do we have to take a quarterback number one? No. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. No, none of these guys are deserving. Not even Blake. Not even Blake Bortles. He's still a work in progress. Same with Johnny. Teddy is the only one I think is a surefire right now. Only one. You know, other than that, maybe a Derek Carr. Now, I wouldn't mind having Derek Carr here. I love his arm. I love the arm that he has. I've watched him throw. He's got he's got really good arm talent. I would not mind having Derek Carr in Houston. I would not mind. Will he drop? We'll see. Some people are saying he's a first round pick, bottom of the first round. We'll see. We'll see. If he drops, if Houston is looking at him, go for it. I'm all for that. But I'm just saying, based from what I've been hearing on projections, some say Derek Carr is going to be gone. Before the second round. Some people are saying he might drop second or third. So, A.J. McCarron, Jimmy Garoppolo, or even a Derek Carr, if he's there. If he's there, I say take him. I really like all three of them. Those are the three I really like. Like I said, with Zach and AJ and Aaron Murray, their injuries do concern me a tad, although they look fantastic. When you've seen them drop back and throw after that surgery, they look fantastic throwing the football. But in terms of what to do, so I like those guys. Now, and like I said, we might draft one, we might draft two. Who knows? We might get a guy like Phil Savage. We might get another guy that no one's talking about. Even the guy from, I think, there's one QB prospect from the Ivy League. I don't remember his name. That some people are that we're talking about. That a lot of people are just ignoring. There's talent in this draft class. Like, I have to go back and watch and look for that tape. But there's plenty of talent in this draft. So don't fall asleep on any of these guys. Some of these guys that were going to get drafted, some of them you might not have heard of. Now, and of course, finally, the other option is, we might trade that pick. We might trade that pick to get more in the later rounds, and that maybe then is where we get our quarterbacks or other positions of need, like offensive line, defensive back, like offensive line, another defensive lineman, maybe another cornerback, a defensive back, maybe a slot receiver, although I feel like DeVere Posey is good enough to be slot receiver. He's shown it. I believe it. I believe in him. But we'll see how Bill O'Brien feels about that. And we lost Owen Daniels, so we're a little thin at tight end, even though we did re-sign Garrett Graham. And the tight end are another thing another need, of course, is running back. And not one running back is being projected to go in the first round. One guy I really like in terms of the running back is Kadeem Carey. He's a really good zone runner. Short for his low center of gravity, very fast, and he's a good zone runner. So that could be another position that we might look at, bottom of the rounds, in the bottom couple rounds. We shall see. 8 days away. I'm really looking forward to it. And just to give you guys an idea of of what I'm thinking, since I'm going to be at a Houston Texans draft party, I'm thinking of doing a draft episode of the first round, a recap of it the next day, the following day, just before the second round starts. So post round one, recap, preview, second round, something like that. I'm still working out the details, but that's currently my thought process as of now. And I'll get into more details in just a little bit. Before I wrap this up, I will get to those final details. So I say we're taking quarterback. So before this gets any longer, before I start rambling even further, with that 33rd overall pick, I say we're taking quarterback. We're taking one of our quarterbacks. And I think it's AJ McCarron, or Jimmy Garoppolo. Those are the two, and or maybe a Derek Carr if he's still there. That's who I'm hanging my hat on in terms of if we're taking quarterback. If we're thinking quarterback with that pick. 33rd overall pick, I think we're taking one of those three guys. That's my feeling. It's one guy's opinion. A lot of talent. A lot to look forward to. I've really had a lot of fun looking at all these prospects. Watching their tape, watching them play. It's going to be a very interesting draft. So, let's see here. So yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps things up here on this edition of Bulls on Parade Talk. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed, please leave a like on this YouTube video. I'd appreciate it. In the comments section, tell me what you guys think about that pick, the top pick of the second round. I've had some people say we might trade it. I've heard some people say we're taking a quarterback there. I've told you my guys who I think. I think it's, and I'll repeat them again, AJ McCarron from Alabama, Jimmy Garoppolo from Eastern Illinois, or Derek Carr from Fresno State, the younger brother of David Carr. Do you agree with my three, or do you have another player in mind for that pick? Or are we going to trade that pick to get more, to fill more holes, and then get maybe like a Phil Savage or someone like that in the mid third to fifth round? Who do you think we're getting, and where do you think we're getting them? Tell me in the comments section. Love to hear from you guys. For more Houston Texans coverage provided by yours truly, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Shout out to those that already have subscribed. I really appreciate it. Again, I'll be here covering all the latest regarding your Houston Texans all year long, from off-season to preseason to regular season to postseason, hopefully. And like I said, guys, for the draft, I am thinking of doing, since I'm gonna be at a watch party for the NFL for the draft next Thursday. I'm thinking of doing a post-round one video, a post-round one episode, and a preview of the second and third of day 2 of the draft. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. I haven't finalized anything yet. Once I know more about my schedule ahead and all that, I'll let you guys know. Also, be sure to check out and follow my Bulls on Parade Talk podcast on TalkShoe.com if you haven't already. Full link to that podcast will be in the description below this video for those watching on YouTube. To those that are listening on the podcast, the link to the video will be in the episode's info section on the podcast site. Everyone is always more than welcome to call the show during the live recording and voice their thoughts and opinions. I'll definitely for sure give you guys the floor so you can do just that. I'm always up for a good discussion here. And like I said, guys, I did invite two guys to join me in the live video, but They never replied to my They never replied to my invitation. So, and if you want to join the hangout, let me know and I'll get you guys set up. It's not as simple as you might think, but if you are interested, let me know, and we'll work something out. Like I said, I'm always up for a good discussion here on this show. Speaking of good discussions, I encourage you all to check out my website, bullsonparadetalk.blogspot.com. You'll not only get access to my latest videos, but additional articles and posts regarding the Houston Texans, as well as other football-related topics. I'm really looking forward to football season because I'm going to have a lot of things to talk about once training camp and the season starts. Again, you can join me on the discussion on the website. You can subscribe to my blog. Check it out. From there, you'll be able to see all my posts and everything that I put on there, as well as reply to me, send me comments, and create your discussions and start a discussion there. So go ahead and check out my website. It's really good stuff there. More is coming as I post videos, as the season progresses. Really a lot of good stuff to look forward to. If you need to reach out to me for whatever reason, you are all more than welcome to do so. You can follow me here on Twitter at Bulls Parade Talk. You can always go to the Bulls on Parade Talk Facebook page, find me there. And of course, you can always find me here on this YouTube channel, Bulls on Parade Talk, as well as my and of course my website, bullsonparadetalk.blogspot.com. So as always, this is your host Joshua Sines saying so long, see you next time, and go Texans.